Welcome back to Nubian Narrator News, the only newsroom where the buffet isn't continental but catastrophic. And tonight's headline is so absurd I almost spat out my tea. A 4-star Hilton hotel in West London, yes, Hilton, the kind you book for a wedding after party, has quietly been stripped of its branding because it's now housing asylum seekers. That's right. The Hilton logo gone, the chandeliers dimmed, the doormen replaced by Home Office contractors, and the area's residents losing their minds because they say this isn't in keeping with the area. And you know what? For once I actually understand what they mean. Let's start with the basics. The Doubletree by Hilton in Cranford, West London, has been converted into asylum seeker accommodation. The Hilton branding ripped off the building like an ex trying to delete your selfies. Why? Because the government, having failed to build proper infrastructure, is now slapping band-aids on a bullet wound by leasing luxury hotels to warehouse people they have no plan for. And it's not just this Hilton. There are over 200 hotels across the UK housing asylum seekers. That's 32,000 people, according to government figures. Whole chains have been converted into glorified refugee camps. If you think you're booking a weekend break on booking.com, you might be shocked to discover you're actually booking into Britain's immigration overflow. This is what collapse looks like. Let's talk numbers. The Home Office is spending £5 million every single day on asylum seeker hotels. 5 million. That's NHS salaries, school repairs, pensions, evaporating into hotel bills. In Canary Wharf, a hotel that usually charges £425 a night is now being leased to the government at £81 per night per room. Bargain if you're a civil servant, catastrophe if you're a taxpayer. And guess who profits? Not Britain, not the public. Private contractors. The latest fat cat is corporate travel management, who stepped in after the previous provider was accused of harassment, mistreatment, and profiting off the asylum trade. In other words, the system is so corrupt that the parasites feeding on it had to be swapped out for different parasites. Meanwhile, the government insists this is temporary. Oh yes, they promise these hotels will close by 2029. Let me repeat, 2029. We'll probably have had 2 new monarchs and another world war by then. This is not temporary. This is policy failure dressed up as delay, and the longer they delay, the bigger the magnet becomes, because what's the message here? Come to Britain illegally, destroy your documents, and don't worry, you'll get a Hilton. Room service might be gone, but you'll still get 3 meals, a bed, and free healthcare. That's not deterrence, that's an advert. Now let's turn to the locals in Cranford. They're furious. They're saying this Hilton conversion isn't in keeping with the area. That's polite British speak for, we didn't pay millions for our homes just to have the local Hilton turned into an asylum processing plant. And you know what? They're right, because while Brits are waiting years on housing lists, while families are sleeping in mouldy flats, while veterans are on the streets, the government can somehow find the money to turn luxury hotels into free housing for people who jumped the queue. That isn't fairness, that's betrayal. Now don't get it twisted, these hotels aren't paradise. Reports from inside say the conditions are grim, mould, overcrowding, dodgy food, broken facilities. But here's the problem, no matter how bad it is inside, the symbolism of using Hiltons, Marriotts and Holiday Inns as asylum hostels is catastrophic. It screams failure, it screams chaos, and it screams open invitation, because smugglers in Calais don't care if the carpets are threadbare, they just care that Britain is housing people in 4-star properties while pretending it has no space. Zoom out. The Hilton is just one tile in a collapsing mosaic. The Court of Appeal just ruled that asylum seekers could stay at the Bell Hotel in Epping, despite furious locals and the council's fight to evict them. The Home Office argued that evicting asylum seekers would destabilise the entire system, which is basically them admitting, if one hotel closes, the whole thing collapses. That's not a system, that's a shambles, and Labour don't expect salvation. Their grand solution is to keep using hotels until 2029, while muttering about international cooperation. Same mess, different tie colour. So let's call it what it is, a government failure of epic proportions. Asylum seekers in Hiltons, billions burned on contractors, communities betrayed, Britain humiliated. This isn't compassion, it isn't strategy, it's managed collapse, it's chaos disguised as policy. And it will not stop until Britain learns the lesson no party wants to admit. Deterrence, not Hilton hotels, is the only way out. This is Nubian Narrator News, signing off, reminding you, when your government books out the Hilton for asylum seekers while your nan waits for a care home bed, the system isn't broken, it's rigged.